Compound interest continued. I believe this is video 6. And what we will do in this is apply what we've learned about simple interest and compound interest into calculating how much of a return we could earn by investing money that we have inherited from an uncle. A very nice uncle of ours has given us $125,000. And so we are going to put that into a common bank product known as a CD, or certificate of deposit. And so what we will do is we will allow the bank to keep our money for 5 years, and they will pay us for doing that, and that payment will be called what we've been calling the interest, and that interest will be based on an interest rate, and commonly known for investments as the APY, or the annual percentage yield. So let's take a look at the situation, the scenario, and then how we could set up a worksheet to do these calculations. So you just inherited $125,000 from your uncle. You have decided to invest the money in a CD or certificate of deposit. You are planning to leave the money in the CD for 5 years and then withdraw it to help pay for college. So your task is to go online. So you're going to actually go out onto the internet and research 5 banks or credit unions that offer a 5-year CD. And you've got to keep in mind, you've got to pay attention to that, because you can get a 1-year CD, 2, 3, 4. And so we're going to be looking at 5-year CDs, 60 months. And what we're going to do is build a worksheet that will allow us to compare the annual percentage yield and to calculate the account balance at the end of 5 years. And of course, we'll be interested in the one that pays us the most. But we want to do this so we can compare these and put our skills to work. Now, APY, what does that mean? Well, when you're investing money, banks display this in terms of annual percentage yield. And so what it does is that it takes into account the effects of the compounding of interest that we have been doing. So we're going to assume that the APY is what we've been calling R, or the rate of return, within our simple interest formula. And there's that little discussion right there about that. So what we can do then is go out to the bank, and we'll put in a bank name here, right here. And then this here will be I, the interest or the return, because the money's going to come back to us. And then the amount that we invest, which is going to be this $125,000. And you're going to go out and find the APY for a particular CD, and then the amount of time. And so we're going to assume that it's compounded annually. And we're going to do that because we're going to assume that the APY, as indicated by the bank, has already taken into account the effects of compounding on a daily or monthly basis. So that's what we're going to do. And so the first thing to do is go ahead and set up your worksheet. And so I'll go through a couple things that might be just a little different. I can only see one here, maybe this merge right here. So this will be one, will be for the first bank. And so we need a column here for the bank name. And then period, interest return, principal, APY, time, and account balance. And these columns are all set here to a formatted width of, I believe it's 15. Let's see here. Yep, 15. And this one, let's go ahead and set that to, let me see what we have here. Let's make that an even 44. And then go ahead and pause the video to get that taken care of. Rewind it if you need to on a couple of those values. And then we can move on to centering, merging and centering the name of the bank. And so the way I did this is that I just simply selected this, these cells B18 through B22. I did that kind of a thing, but right over here. In fact, I'll undo it. There it is right there. That's the way yours looks. So select those. And then, as long as you're at the home main menu, then you come over here to merge and center, and it'll convert those 5 rows into one cell. And then you can select these alignment characters here, or alignment tools. So we want to center the content, and then we also want it aligned in the middle of the cell. So we got a horizontal alignment and a vertical alignment. And so then when we type, let's say we pick something like Bank of America. And we can put that name there. And then these periods here are going to represent our 5 years. And then we can go ahead, just as we did in previous lessons, and calculate the interest. In this case, we're going to call it a return because it's money coming back to us. And then we can calculate the account balance at the end of each of these 5 years. And of course, at the end of 5 years, we'll be interested in that value right there. And so because we're going to do these calculations for 5 different banks, we could go ahead and we need to make another one of these tables. But instead of just recreating that and typing all that information in, we can just go ahead and copy this. So what I'm going to do is select the entire range. In this case, it's A16 through H22. And I can press Control-C, or I can right-click Copy. And then I can come down, skip 2 rows, and right-click and click Paste. Or I could use my shortcut key, Control-V. And then the only thing I have to do is change that value right there. So that's our second bank. So go ahead and do that so you have 5 of those. And then after you do that, come on back and I'll give you a quick look at how you can do some research online. So once you have your worksheet set up and ready to accept information, do some calculations on your 5 different banks, then what you can do is go online, do a research for CDs. You can type in 5-year CDs. And here's one that I found fairly quickly here for this bank. And there's your bank name. We want to make sure that we have the proper term or length of time, because you can see it varies. For 3 months, you get a lot less interest rate than if you put your money in for 3 or 5 years. The longer you put your money in, generally the more you'll get paid, the higher rate of return, or the higher percentage yield, that interest rate. And so there's the number that we need to do our calculation, because we know what our principal is, we know what our time is, and so what we need is this APY figure, and we can go in and do our calculations. So you're going to come on back to your worksheet, and there you go. You put your bank name in and put in that APY principal amount, which we know is this 125 that the uncle gave us, and then start doing your calculations. And you're going to do that for 5 different banks, 5 different investments, and then have me come by and look at them, tell me which one you want to put your money into and why. And that will conclude this video on investing some money in a 5-year certificate of deposit.